beautiful out there, and I hope you had a great weekend. And today what we're looking at is the topic of compassion fatigue, and this has always been a really interesting one, especially over the past couple years. We live within a system. We live within a culture where there's kind of a knee jerk response to constantly say, "Well, make sure to take care of yourself." And self care clearly is important. I would never want to be disparaging about that. And we have to be careful that doesn't become its own racket, its own sort of shoulder patch. I remember Brene Brown once saying, how did she say it? She said it so well. Where overwork becomes this badge of honor, and I feel like kind of self care sometimes, if we're not careful, can become the same thing. Again, we want self care. We don't want to let that become a racket. So this story of creation, how does that all tie in? Well, we're in a beautiful part of the story here. And again, we're talking pictures, we're talking metaphors, we're talking poetic truth, where Adam falls asleep and God takes his rib and creates a woman out of the rib. And what does all that mean? Well, we believe in our particular theology that represents this beautiful sense of self-autonomy now enlivened by God. It's no longer just a dead bone. It now is something that has gone outside of us and has created this beautiful moving thing, this Eve, as it were. Not talking about literal femininity or a literal woman there. It's just talking about a part of us, a heart part that really, really comes alive. And that's incredibly beautiful. And with that, folks, I feel like compassion fatigue, what we have to remember with that is, and this is a little hard to describe, is compassion fatigue. When I wrestle with it, and I don't know if this will land true or not. When I wrestle with it, when I have moments where I've truly like given it away, here's this thing, I'm in the flow, it's just working, it's humming along. I'm doing the kind of service work that is really making my heart sing. That's the last thing on my mind is compassion fatigue. And then when I start to pull it back into myself, in other words, the rib goes out, the rib goes back in, I start to make it about myself. That's where compassion fatigue can show up a lot. And again, I think even in those places where we're working really hard selflessly, obviously it's going to show up some of the time. I'm talking where it becomes a racket. And then it becomes, my like, well, woe is me. You would not believe how hard I have to work. I work harder than anybody else, blah, 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 blah. That is where compassion fatigue is not healthy at all. So how is it that we keep on pushing it out there, right? We know when that starts to come in and we start to make up a big story, sort of a self-righteous story, that's bad. That will lead to a bad form of compassion fatigue. And how do we keep on pushing it out? No, and again, out here as we serve, right, there will clearly be compassion fatigue. There are days that are just tiring because we've given so much, and that's all good. And yet, what's the difference? Well, there's a beautiful passage in here that talks about what we come to be able to see, and it's talking about intuition. When the Lord brings that sense of self to life, our sense of self gives us the ability to perceive all the good desired by love and all the truth taught by faith. So it holds within it all wisdom and understanding, joined to an indescribable happiness. That's being in the flow. So what does that mean? That means that we've just learned to sort of trust that we'll get to know what we need to know out here. I feel so much of the time when I sort of pull it too much and make it too much about me, I am the one who is there to fix it. That's not so great. And that will lead to a certain compassion fatigue because there's so little, folks. I mean, this is not going to be a newsflash to any of you. There's so little in life that is actually fixable in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of life, we can make it beautiful, we can make it better. Can we fix all the problems? I'm always a little leery of of that. Uh, doesn't mean we can't do wonderful things, because we can, but we got to be careful that we're here to fix the world. We're here to make the world a better place. I think that's a little kinder, a little kinder, a little kinder. So folks, we get into that flow and we understand God's going to give us the wisdom out there to see and that truth and love, excuse me, the love that comes from truth will have its own wisdom. It will teach us what to do, and we'll find an incredible joy out there. That's, I feel, where compassion fatigue starts to like wane. It starts to move to the side. So what to think about for today? Well, just think about for today, really trusting, even if you're feeling a little tired, just trusting that God's going to give you the wisdom once you step into that stream. It's just going to give you the wisdom to see how it moves forward. And if you do find yourself a little tired, a little weary, just think for a minute. It may be legitimate. It may really be very true. And it may also be a little bit of a racket. And just be aware if it is, if it's a little bit of like, look at how hard I work, look at how much I do, and nobody appreciates me, and all that stuff. That's where to be super careful, because that's not really a life of service. That's a word. It's not a life of service. That's a life of serve us. And it's where we can use service as a way to sort of get our own ego feeling pretty good. It's not what this self of autonomy is about. This is about a selflessness and a flow. And again, folks, please remember with all this, it is progress, not perfection. This is not something where we do it perfectly. We're going to go back and forth, I think, all the time, pulling the rib close to ourselves, letting it grow into something else. And it's that constant back and forth. And God smiles and joins us on that journey. So I realize that's a lot for a Monday morning. I hope that makes sense. And regardless, just may you have a day where at least for a minute you touch that beautiful flow. So that's my thought, folks. And what we're going to do now we're going to take a little breath. We're going to take a little meditation, a little prayer, a little blessing, and then we'll say hi to some folks on social media. So with that, friends, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you home, and bring you peace. Amen. All right, friends, let's take a look at a little social media thing. And again, just a reminder, as we have been doing several times during this past couple of weeks, is you are more than welcome to join us this evening, 7:30 p.m. for a little gathering / conversation around the book Heaven and Hell, which is pretty darn fun to do, to be honest. All right, let's see what comments we have here today. Teresa, good morning to you, and hope you're doing well out there in Pittsburgh, my friend. Kim, good morning to you, and hope you're doing well. Sherry writes, as we get older, it helps to focus our areas of service. It really does. And it's yeah, and I think that's part of the second simplicity, right? Is is we get to a point where there's just a few things that we really are sort of hold on our heart in a really significant way, and that's where God's really calling us, which is good stuff. Marcus, good morning to you, buddy. Kay, great to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Gene, good morning to you. I hope you're doing well down there in Maryland. And let me see if I can figure this other fancy part out of how to get to my other thing. And oh, it's still messing up on my tech. My bad. So, folks, wishing you all the best. God bless. May you have a day just filled with a lot of compassion, not with a lot of compassion fatigue. Take care. Bye bye.